3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Let's bring in my buddy Kevin Foote from the Acadiana Advocate. He covers Ragin Cajuns sports here locally in Lafayette. Really appreciate your time, Kevin. Did the Ragin Cajuns softball team get screwed not hosting a regional? And how are you?
I'm good. No, I don't think. I wrote a column that was in Sunday's paper ahead of time saying, look, my obviously the first option if you're a Cajun fan from my perspective is you went out and scheduled the way you did. Your RPI is 11. You wish you would get a seed that was closer to what your RPI was. But did you really think that was going to happen? Probably not. Because, once upon a time, the RPI at certain times meant more than maybe it does now. We learned that yesterday. But the second option was going to regionals where you feel like you had a path, if you played pretty well, of getting to Oklahoma City. And I think they definitely got that. So I don't think they got a raw deal at all.
All right, so let's talk about this team because they won this Sunbelt Conference tournament much differently than they have in the past. It was usually we're going to outslug you. We're going to out-hit you. We'll have enough pitching. And this time they did it with all pitching and defense. They won 2 ball games 4-1, and they beat Marshall 1-0. Only the second time all season Marshall has been shut out. How have you seen the kind of team that Jerry Glasgow has now compared to previous Ragin Cajun squads? How have you seen that develop?
It is unique because, they really have 5 pitchers that they've thrown in significant, not necessarily significant innings, but all in competitive games against good teams, not in mop-up duty is what I'm saying at different times. Now, Chloe Riaceto hadn't pitched as much lately as she did early in the year, but when they were playing top 10 teams, Chloe was pitching. So you don't have that a whole lot. I was just reviewing some old regionals for Cajun softball from like 20 years ago, and Brooke Mitchell pitched every game. I mean, every game. And that's kind of the way softball was. So they have more pitching options now, which helps. But, it was kind of strange this weekend because the wind was kind of the park was playing big for baseball, but they still scored runs. But in softball, the park played big and no one scored any runs the whole Sunbelt Conference tournament. It was kind of bizarre.
It really was. A couple of balls I thought on, I think it was against Texas State, seemed to go to the wall and nothing would go out.
It was, pitching was certainly and I don't mind that, especially us media members who kind of prefer quick games to 3.5-hour games. They went fairly quick. And I think that's, good softball or good baseball for the most part. But it was strange how just about everyone who pitched well, or at least not one pitcher ever got lit the whole regional. I mean,
but hold on a second. The games did not go fast. They were all like 2.5 hours, except the championship game, which was 1-0.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah, they did not go fast. Usually the Cajuns play within like an hour and a half because they always run rule you, but that's not the case.
I mean, look, I've said it. UL baseball typically plays. They'll get through 7 innings before the softball team does. When they start at the same time, most of the time the baseball team gets through 7 innings before the softball team does. But I don't know why that is, but it's been that way.
That is an unusual case. That's usually not the case.
Right.
Usually the softball team, although in the past have scored some runs, they usually do it quick with here's a 3-run home run, here's a 2-run home run. It's not a whole lot of, even if it is a big inning, it's not, the Cajuns are not thinking and dunking.
No, but baseball has played a lot of games this year in 215, 220, 218 in that range. I don't know. Tony Robichaux's not here anymore, but they do that in the way Tony Robichaud would coach it for sure.
We're talking with Kevin Foote from the Acadiana Advocate. We're talking Ragin Cajuns softball. All right, so we can't overlook Omaha. Have you had any chance to find out what kind of team they are?
Well, they have a pitcher who has got a ton of strikeouts. And today, Coach Glasgow kind of compared her to kind of a Kendra Lamb type pitcher, rise ball, throws really hard. She, ironically, when they won the Summit League title game on Sunday, threw a one-hitter with 11 strikeouts, just like Sam Landry threw a one-hitter in a 1-0 win with 11 strikeouts on Saturday in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. This is the first time they've ever been to an NCAA Regional. And so, it's going to be a new thing. You would think that the Cajuns' experience in being in, 24, 25 straight regionals now would carry over. But we all know what a dominant pitching performance can do in a game.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. So maybe this experience in the Sun Belt, these close games, will help out in the regional for the Cajuns.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, I don't know anything about the catcher, but the Cajuns can really run in baseball and softball. They do a great job of applying pressure to people by running. And if Omaha doesn't have a top-notch defensive catcher, they should be able to take advantage of that.
Well, actually, on a side note, we looked at that LSU versus the Cajuns. LSU is very efficient, but they do not run. 41 stolen bases, 50 attempts. The Cajuns are 3 times that. They have over 120 stolen bases in over 150 attempts.
Well, if you hit the amount of power that LSU does, you probably don't want to run with, one of their main hitters at the plate. But the Cajuns have a totally different philosophy there, yes.
So let's talk about the difference between this Cajuns team and the ones that would face LSU in the past. Like we've mentioned, they have more pitching. It used to be maybe a Jordan Wallace or maybe a Summer Ellison was better than what LSU had in one pitcher. But LSU just kept on coming with the Allie Wall-Jaspers and the Carly Hoovers, and it was just too much to overcome for one Cajuns pitcher. It is different this year. They have a lot of depth. They have 4 solid pitchers that could probably match up with anybody.
Yeah, I think that I don't think there's anybody on this staff that can, what I call Jordan Wallace LSU. When the Cajuns went over there with Jordan Wallace, you just pitched every game and threw shutouts and they won every game. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to do that, but they don't have to do that, to your point. I think they can match up. Kendra Lamb 2 years ago threw a shutout, complete game shutout against LSU in a regional. So she's done that before. And obviously, Sam is red hot. I think LSU's lineup, from what I remember earlier this year, not nearly as deep as it was some of those lineups. They have two really good hitters. And look, Georgia Clark, the Cajuns don't really seem to get her out the times that I remember them playing LSU in the last few years. So it's about making sure that Pleasance and Clark don't kill you, but for the Cajuns, they've had a tough time preventing that.
We're talking with Kevin Foote, the Acadiana Advocate, beat writer for the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. All right, let's flip it to baseball. Ragin Cajuns all of a sudden go from a tied for 6th and maybe not making the conference tournament to now in 3rd place. They've swept 2 series in a row. They did lose 2 out of 3 to Coastal. Could have won all 3 of those games, but certainly at least 2 of them. And then sweep ULM. They sweep Texas State. Kevin, before the ULM series, I said they had to win 6 out of their last 9 ball games, thinking sweep ULM, 2 out of 3 from Texas State, and then win 1 from Southern Miss. They've already accomplished the 6. I think they're safe to be in that 3 to 6 seed area. But if they get 1 win against Southern Miss, they should be all set.
They are. It's tricky because it would be even trickier if App and James Madison had played all their games, because App's played 1 fewer game than most of the teams, the Cajuns for sure, and James Madison's played 2 fewer games. So the tricky thing about that is they have the same amount of losses as Troy with 11, 1 behind the Cajuns. But if the Cajuns, finish with the same amount of losses, they're going to have a higher winning percentage, which could help the Cajuns in both of those tiebreakers. Right. If they can't get that 1 win in Hattiesburg, which, look, no one's been beating Southern Miss lately. So, that's tricky. The other thing is Troy is playing App. So the 2 teams right behind the Cajuns in the standings are playing one another, which could help the Cajuns if there's no sweep there.
And both those teams, though, won the series with the Cajuns.
Both of them did. And James Madison swept the Cajuns. But, again, App is not going to have a tiebreaker because they played, unless there's a rain out and that they never make up, they played a different amount of games, so the tiebreaker won't apply. And with James Madison, they played a different amount of games, so the tiebreaker won't apply.
So what do you think has changed with the Ragin Cajuns over the last 2 or 3 weeks? They're still banged up. They're not necessarily getting healthy, but they are getting better pitching performances, and their offense is coming to life a little bit earlier and not having to come back all the time.
Yeah, it's last week I was doing my radio show and I had a guest, and he pointed, the Cajuns are struggling with pitching, but so is everyone else. And if you look into it, no one in the whole conference has a team ERA below 5 other than Southern Miss, and it's just below 5. So I think it's almost like the Cajuns, he talks a lot about matching up. I think one of the big keys for the Cajun is Connor Higgs became a legitimate hitter. He hit the home run to win a game. I forget who it was against, in a decider game at home. And then he went to LSU and hit a home run there. And he's calmed down a little bit. But when he got inserted in the middle of that lineup, it kind of lengthened the lineup, I thought. And now their lineup is where it needed to be. Before that, Carson Roccaforte was not hitting with the kind of consistency that he's hitting with right now. And before that, Max Marshak wasn't. I mean, for a while, Max Marshak, most of the years, his batting average started with a 1, but now he's up in the 260, 270 range. So he's on fire. So the first thing is their lineup just got longer and more explosive with fewer holes in it. The second thing is they really I think you and me and a lot of people thought, this idea of playing day-to-day with your pitching staff and treating it like a Johnny Holstaff in the Sun Belt Conference tournament losers bracket is not going to work. Like, we've all seen that, but how can that work long time? But it has worked. I don't know that it's worked. Yeah, I mean,
on Sunday, yeah.
They just seem to have made it work because they have done a great job hitting. But the other thing is the real key to this team is they play defense. I mean, I didn't see the updated Sun Belt Conference stats after this weekend. That probably will come out tomorrow. But they have way fewer errors than anybody else in the league. Like, their fielding percentage is way higher than everyone. So when we talk about all these teams that struggle pitching, the Cajuns have been able to overcome some of that better than most teams because they're playing great defense behind that trouble pitching, and most teams don't do that. And that really showed up this weekend at Texas State. They didn't do a great job of fielding bunts at all.
Right. Yeah, it sure did. They had trouble fielding, throwing guys out on routine ground balls. So it was really interesting. I want to talk to you about those matchups because we've seen across the basin, we saw other teams, I guess, Auburn and Mississippi State decide, we're going to throw our number 2 on Friday night against Paul Skeens, or at least in the first game, and then have our number 1 go on Saturday, up against anybody but named Paul Skeens. Is that something that maybe the Cajuns do? They don't pitch against Tanner Hall? We'll move everybody back. Like Nezu goes on Friday because the series is Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of the tournament. So Nezu goes on Friday, Fluno goes on Saturday, and do that whole, Johnny Holstaff thing on Thursday, and maybe you can come away with a game on Saturday or Sunday and avoid the big Tanner Hall matchup.
Well, when getting one win, now normally Coach Degg says we're going to go for it, guy. We're going to go for it. But when you need one win, like you said at the very beginning of this, that would be more tempting to do something like that this weekend. Now, at different times during the year, Jackson Nezu, he kind of was the Saturday or the game 2 starter, and he stuck with that a little while. But then when other people kind of just didn't get it done, they moved him up to that with the Friday night spot or the game 1 spot. So it wouldn't shock me at all if he did something different because he's done different now. The other thing is you're going to want him to pitch in game 1 in Montgomery. So would that be Thursday?
Oh, no, isn't that what would be?
Depending on what happens, obviously, but
right. Yeah,
that could play a factor in when it is. I don't know what seed they're going to be, but very possible that could be Thursday. So we'll see. But no, I could see it happening because it's so important that they get one win. So it could be a sound approach if they go that route.
Yeah, so you're concerned that if he pitches on Friday and has to come back on maybe Wednesday, that's a little bit too quick.
Or wait until Saturday, I'm saying. Yeah. They may not want to wait till Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either. Let me see here. Why can't I find the baseball? Montgomery, the first round is on Tuesday. No, the first game that the Cajuns are hoping to play in would be on Wednesday.
Would be on Wednesday. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to do too late. You certainly wouldn't want to do Saturday. So he
wouldn't pitch Saturday. I was thinking Friday, but maybe with the number one with their first game being on Wednesday, maybe throw him Thursday and maybe you can find a win on Friday or Saturday without Nazoo.
Yeah, and look, it's very possible that they could get swept and still be in the top 6, but you just don't want to take that chance.
Right. No, especially when you just, and again, baseball coaches don't think this way, players don't think this way, as much as, a couple weeks ago, I was like, they need to go up to ULM and get a sweep because ULM's not very good. All right. And they did that. You can never really count on that. And the coaches and the players will never tell you that they want to win the series, just like they want to win this series against Southern Miss. But at the same time, they know we just got to win one. We got to avoid playing Tuesday. And we got to avoid, by avoid playing Tuesday, then you avoid Southern Miss and Coastal next is the idea.
No, I absolutely. Now, if Monroe can get one win, they'll be in. But I don't know that anybody really thinks that's going to happen, especially in San Marcos.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath for that.
My question is, and maybe you've talked to more people outside this area. Georgia Southern is just really slumping,
Well, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Georgia State from nowhere. The last 2-3 weeks have been ridiculous, right? The Cajuns were tied for 6th. Now they're in 3rd place. James Madison was 11th. They got all the way to 4th, but because they lose the last game to ODU, now they're into 6th.
Yeah. And Georgia State has been playing really well, and Georgia Southern's just free falling. So it's kind of, this is a Georgia Southern team that had a top 10 RPI last season.
Right. And South Alabama has gone from winning 10 in a row to, losing like 6 straight in the conference.
Look, South Alabama was an elite baseball program in this conference for years, and it just shows you the difference and how hard it is to be consistent. The Cajuns beat South Al and Georgia Southern and Texas State last year when they won the tournament. And that South Alabama team was not their best team, but it was still a good team. And that Georgia Southern team was really good. And the Texas State team, I thought, was a World Series caliber team. I mean, they were really, really good. And then look here, a year later, the Cajuns sweep Texas State for the first time ever. And South Alabama's probably not going to make the tournament, and Georgia Southern's barely going to make it. Crazy.
Yeah, a couple more minutes here with Kevin Foote of the Acadiana Advocate, where I locked on Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk about the Cajuns right now. I mean, what a year they are having, right? They get a Sunbelt basketball, Sunbelt championship. They got a Sunbelt golf championship. They got a softball Sunbelt championship, and they are the defending baseball championship champions. Again, I don't know, like you just said, who they could beat. Be tough for a gauntlet. Last season seems like it would be a tougher gauntlet than this season, although the two top teams to be very tough. And Coastal, they competed with Coastal. Have the Ragin Cajuns ever had 4 Sunbelt champions in one calendar year? Because I think we figured it out a couple years ago. They had 3.
Yeah, and no, I mean, I have to go back and look. I don't know that for a fact, but even the year before that, we're not that far removed from the football team winning, and the year before that, the women's basketball team won the conference for the first time ever. So it is a good era right now that they're in this little patch here, and I think football will be very competitive next year. I don't know about winning the conference, and baseball it's just been a strange season, and it's just like every time you think they're dead, they do great, and every time you think they're really on a roll, then they kind of take a step back. But no, look, everybody thinks Dr. Maggot has done a fabulous job, and there's no arguing that. And, the thing now is to see how far the softball team can go. because they haven't won a region. That's been the premier athletic department at this program in this university since 1990, and they haven't won a regional in 6 years now since what? And so it's time, and so that we'll see what happens in Baton Rouge this weekend.
What is coming up? What are you writing about this week in the Acadiana Advocate, and how can people find it?
Well, they can go to theadvocate.com, and I'm kind of writing. I'm looking up. I think baseball is in a weird state right now. If you remember the 90s where you had all the gorilla ball and the people, and it got out of hand. I'm wondering, I don't know if it's going to get that out of hand, but it sure seems like there's a lot of teams right now across the country that cannot pitch. It's not just in the Sun Belt Conference. The art of pitching seems to be missing. Not the art of throwing 95, but the art of pitching seems to be missing. And I think that's an issue in Major League Baseball as well. I hope to explore that this week.
Well, I think that's that. I think I may be able to find you somebody who knows. It feels like people are just trying to throw harder, and that's how they get injured, instead of throwing 92 or 93 and putting it where you want to, or throwing 97 and see if you can hit it until my arm blows up.
Yes. And you walk a million people, and you hit guys. And, Coach Deggs has been talking about freebies since before the season started. And Sunday's game was just a total, example of that. How you could just totally ruin a game just because you can't throw a strike.
That was a 4-hour process that day.
Yes.
Sunday was 4 hours.
That's the other bad thing about that approach. Yes.
Yeah. Both teams did that. He is Kevin Foote from the Acadiana Advocate. Really appreciate your time. Thanks, Kevin, for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We'll do it again soon. Enjoy the softball in Baton Rouge.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Beautiful. Thanks, Kev.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
All right.
Hi.
Yo.
Did we see a rating spike?
I'm waiting for Jake Tapper to answer me.
Are there a lot of downloads?
I don't have that yet.
Oh, I thought we'd break the system.
Oh. The guy, Joe Cunningham, is the guy who works in my office with me. He's right wing, but he's not nearly as nutso as everybody else.
Oh.
He said, I'm going to like that reply. Did you have to ask your mother to get Eric Schultz on?
Oh, that was him. Got it.
Yeah. So he's a very nice man. He's helping me out with my writing when I do it.
Good.
I'm sorry I didn't answer. I was doing the podcast.
For the Sun Belt?
Yes. Try to get that out of the way here before, last night it was 9:37.
Good.
I thought it was good.
I didn't hear. Did anyone call in or anything? Did anyone care?
No, we didn't even get calls in for softball. I don't know. Maybe,
Did Lyndon like it?
Lyndon liked it. Yes.
Good.
Yes. He was like, Shiv pulled that out on Mother's Day, man.
What?
He goes, Shiv says that to him on Mother's Day. Even Sam listened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. So.
Good. Okay. You did listen to Brian Curtis with The Ringer?
Okay. Did you do that?
I just did his podcast, yeah.
You just did that podcast. I'll tweet him too. Let's see here. I went back and forth with the guy who does let's see here. The guy who does Slow News Day from The Ringer. Going back and forth about college football. So Kevin somebody. Have you ever seen that? Slow News Day?
No.
What's this? Oh, wow. Oh, boy. Oh boy, I think someone just got fired. We'll see.
Who?
June 26th. That's coming up. Delta Media. Oh boy, the guy from Baton Rouge is coming to compete with me. Oh well.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. News. All right. No. All right, bro. I'll have to listen to that. I'm not. I usually read The Ringer in bed after I watch the episode. I did not do that.
Well, this is called Press Pod. I think they have a bunch, right?
Okay. Do you keep on complimenting the writers in the room and how creative they are?
Yes.
Did you have to come up with new lines?
No, I just say the same ones.
Let's see. Who is going to be in Baton Rouge? Alex Perlman. Who's Alex Perlman? Mhm. Let's see. Maybe look at that. All right. Anything else going on?
Very good. No, I'm pooped from all my media.
You need, if you're going to do that, you need a microphone.
Gonna do what?
If you're going to do more of that stuff, you need a microphone.
I know. I have a microphone. The Succession podcast people sent me, but I didn't.
It did not work. Yeah, you did not set that up. So did Ben have a microphone, or did he just have a better computer?
Oh, his audio was better than mine.
Yes. You haven't watched it?
No.
Oh, yeah.
It's annoying.
Yeah. But they wanted to, I wasn't going to go into the whole. Well, I guess they didn't want to spoil it, where they did. Tapper and spoiling it. You got to give people a chance to watch it. I don't think we spoiled it. I mean, the adult life line is funny, but out of context. I definitely didn't hear that last night, and I heard it this morning.
Yeah, there's a lot that I pick up the second time through.
Right. I need you to be Gregory for. So funny. So, all right. Well, congratulations.
Good. Thank you.
All right.
It was fun today.
Did you get an agent yet? That's what I should have asked you.
No. I'll get one when you get one.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I would have said.
All right. Well. All right. I love you.
I love you.
Okay. Bye. What are we doing here? where they announce it then? Whoop. There it is. Hmm.